Welcome back to the podcast Tangents, where we talk about a lot of different topics, controversial or not, through the eyes of a teenager. My name is Logan. I'm with my co-star Miles. Go ahead and say hi.
What's up?
All right. So the topic of this podcast is going to be explained currently by Miles. So go ahead and take it out of the way.
Okay, guys. So I have an interesting topic. So video game violence. Is it contributing to the violence of teens and kids?
That's
So
a
what do
good
you
one.
think about that, Logan? Yeah, that's a good one, right? Because that fucking drives me insane when I see that.
I know back in 2015, 14, 13, whatever it was, there was a case of like some kid killed his mother or something. And
Oh,
and a
man.
lot, well, I mean, yeah, that happens. It happens.
Yeah.
But a lot of the press that covered it was talking about how it was stemming from violence. It was sourcing the actual cause of it as GTA. Like
Yeah, GTA
GTA
4 at the
caused it. That's the thing.
time.
Violence in video games. I'm a teenager. I'm a 16-year-old male. I've played a lot of video games in my life.
So have I.
Actually, I've done pretty well for myself. Gone a couple tourneys. I'm very well versed in the whole field of video games. So is my co-star Miles. We've been playing our whole life.
Yes, I've
So
been playing since I was 7, and I'm 17.
here's the thing.
And
I have never killed a single man in my life.
in my life, exactly.
Or a woman. Okay, equality
Or a woman,
2019.
equality. I never killed anybody in my life. Nobody. And it's, I don't know why people think that it's through violence. I mean, maybe that kid was already. I don't know. It's just so weird to talk about because yeah, there is violence. I see violence every time. I see violence,
Yes,
and I also see violence in movies. Why don't they talk about movies?
that is very
Movies
true.
has violence.
I think
Movies entertain us, games entertain us. It's just a world of entertainment, and it's not like there wasn't like time where we went through wars and where people were actually getting slaughtered and we were killing people. That we don't even talk about that. You
I
know what I mean?
think I
I
think
think it's just human nature as well. But I mean, I don't know.
I'll say this, okay? It's human nature to be scared of things you don't understand or don't know. Okay? And a lot of the press is not necessarily covered by people who are surrounded by video games. It's covered by Karen in her mid 50s, okay? Who only maybe saw or even touched a video game once in her life.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
I think it's easy for media and a lot of people who see like these actions being committed to chalk it up to video games. Like they see, you know,
Yeah.
here's all these kids who commit violent acts. What is the common denominator? Like, they took the controller. Like, I don't think that is the issue. I don't think it's the issue at all. I think the bigger issue is mental health.
Yes.
That is
mental
one
health.
thing in 21st century that I'm proud to say is getting more talked about lately. But the correlation between violence and video games, at this point, I don't see any studies. I don't see. I mean, I've looked. If someone could point me to one, I would be happy to review it. Maybe it's my own ignorance speaking, but the correlation between violence and video games is to me non-existent. I've
That is
been
me
playing
as
my
well.
whole life, okay, and I can stand behind my word. I've never kicked a puppy, okay.
Never.
I've never had those tendencies to just stab someone. I think the bigger issue would be mental health.
Yeah.
And I think I do you have anything to say on that? Like
Well, I feel like I think what they're trying to say about video game violence is that your mental health could be affected by some video games.
like influenced.
Be influenced, like, oh, if he but that's just a weak-minded person, like someone who is already mentally unstable, and then he goes and sees someone getting murdered on a video game, and he's like, and he does it, and he's like, oh wow, that was funny, or that was cool,
Adrenaline rush.
and that's just because of just his mental health, of that person's mental health. It's just like, I'm trying to put this in words, but it's like someone who's already
Okay, so you're
depressed,
talking about someone who has existing issues,
has
it being
existing
like
issues, and then
exemplified
already
through
and
because of
then
video games.
exemplified. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
Because I mean, I have mental health issues, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I used to have really bad anxiety.
anxiety. Okay,
And yeah, really bad anxiety, and video games always actually helped me with my anxiety. Video games helped me with my issues in life. It made me
social.
it made me more. Yeah, it made me. I know some video games are a little like, they're harsh to play, but it made me feel like I could take away from the actual realities of life and go into another world and just have fun.
That is
And
true.
video games create a sense of creativity in us, and it creates like a sense of. It also creates learning because a lot of video games have things to learn about. Not all of
Creative
them are.
elements to it,
Yeah,
like
they're not all
Minecraft.
about like killing, and you go home, you sit down with your friends and you play a couple games, and that just connects you. You know, it just connects people together. And also, there's games that have great stories. I can name a bunch. God of War, Spider-Man was great. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. So
and
I think the main point, video games is such a broad term. There's so many different genres in video games. It's hard to put like a label and say video games cause
yeah,
violence. You
yeah,
know?
it's because there is different genres. There's Lego. Like, are you saying that Lego Star Wars is causes violence? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess it depends on the article you read. I'll play devil advocate, you know. Someone could be like, "Oh no, it's the violent video games, rated M games that, Call of Duty makes people want to shoot up schools or whatever." I mean, I think the ideas are more prominent now because of video games, but I don't think it directly correlates to the actual, say shootings or
Yeah.
violence committed
And
because
also
of video games.
shootings, and let me tell you that shootings have mostly been caused by being bullied, being mentally unstable, and not being cared for in a mental like aspect.
Yeah,
And I haven't seen any shootings that have derived from
video game
like
violence.
actual like school shootings that have derived from like, oh, I saw someone get killed in a video game and I want to do that.
Yeah, and
You
I'm
know
sure
what
I'm sure there's maybe cases like that out there, but that's not the mass majority in any
Yeah.
sense, you know?
The kids who get their hands on guns, I feel like that's just strange coincidence. That kid that shot his grandma, I think it was,
Mm,
because he saw. I think he was just playing a video game and he recognized a shotgun from the video game.
yes.
He knew that his grandma had a shotgun, right? That I think instead of blaming it on the video game, you should blame the person who didn't have the gun properly locked away from the child. You know what I mean? I think
Are you
that's
referring to an actual case?
yeah. I
Was it
remember
was this the
reading about
one
it.
where like they lit the house on fire afterwards?
No, I don't think no. I don't think so.
Okay, maybe it was a different one. But I
No,
know,
but
because I don't know if it correlated with or was in parallel with the video game violence. But video game violence, I guess my main point would be is that violence is always going to exist, and people are always
oh
to look
yeah,
to something to point at. Like someone's always like, if I see someone get stabbed, my first thought is to be like, why?
yeah,
I mean, maybe if I'm right there, I'm like, oh my god, I gotta leave. But like later, when I'm safe, I'm like, why did that happen? Like, why are people like this?
yeah.
And
It's
for the people who to see like, oh man, that was like a 18-year-old kid, blah blah blah. What was so big on his life that could have caused that? Not much. Well, he does play video games and he kills people in those video games. Ah, there it is. He's
yeah.
he played Call of Duty.
Everybody wants to find something to blame, but they never want to blame people. Like everyone's just an asshole. I mean,
At this
people
point,
are.
I'm currently in high school. My friend, my co-star, is currently in his last year of high school. I've had not even the honor. I have had the experiences of being in lockdowns and all that stuff, and I'm desensitized to all that. Like it's like, we got another lockdown. Dang. But it's like not even dang. It's something I'm like, yes, I don't have to do math homework, But it's
That's my
sad.
fucking life now.
It's sad. And I guess this dabbles more into like less video game violence related, but it is related in the sense that if someone's able to be so desensitized to lockdowns and potential threats, or I remember sitting through a lockdown where they said it's not a drill. If I'm able to be desensitized to that, then what are the odds of me being desensitized to actually hurting someone?
Yeah,
And I think there's a bigger umbrella over society of why I'm like that, or why my fellow peers would be like that, teenagers, especially in this generation. And that's
hmm
because of the way society has really gone and that direction of it being normalized
I feel like as I feel like we've got more violent.
in
I feel like we've gotten
society.
more violent. Yeah, but yeah, society, but not as like I'm not always talking about killing. Just more violent. But I mean, and more accepting too. We have been more accepting, like with the current LGBT community. Everybody's accept. I mean,
Yeah.
more and more people are like understanding that just live your life. The point, my perception of life is if you're happy, then you're successful in life.
Yes.
Happiness is important. Happiness is important to you and to people around you. Like if you have a wife and or whatever, as long as it makes you happy, you're fine. and we should just try to be less focused on oh, I need these likes, or focused on, oh, these video games are killing people, or
Okay, so you're
oh,
going broad. You're talking about
I know,
society.
yeah, I know. I go off the rails sometimes, but yeah, I'm just saying that. Basically, I just feel like video games don't cause violence.
Okay, so that's like your final statement. And
Yeah,
I would have to agree. Video games, like I said, I've played them my whole life. My friend here, my dear friend here, has played video games his whole life. I think the bigger picture is that the same people who go and commit those violent acts, the same people who are mentally ill or go and do that, like you said, video games is a place to go to escape.
yeah,
So if those people are already dealing with mental illnesses, it would make sense for them to go find an escape. And when you're young, that escape would be
yes,
video games.
yes,
I am not a 25-year-old who gets laid off from a job and decides, "Oh, I'm gonna go drown my sorrows in alcohol." I cannot do that. I am a 16-year-old male. But you know what I
yeah,
can do? I could go play video games.
games, yeah,
But people don't. So people see that same kid go commit a violent act and they say, "Oh, it was the video games that caused it." No, it was the thing behind that, the mental illness that caused that. Like I said earlier, I'm glad that it's getting more attention, mental illness. People aren't connecting the dots between the mental illness and the violence being caused. They're looking at the thing that's being placed in front of them, which would be it's video games.
hmm,
It's very easy to get caught up in the press and the media, especially in 2019 when it's all around you. It's at the click of a button on your phone. They read the headlines and they take it as truth, but people need to go and do the research. I think that's the most important thing.
yeah. I agree.
But I think we'd have to end it there unless you want to add on to anything about that.
No, I've said what I need to say. I think that's
Okay.
it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to this. Kind of got a little thoughts out, a little vent session on video games and the correlation between that and violence. Dabbled a little bit into mental health. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast where we highlighted that through the eyes of a teenager. I think that's all we got for today until the next episode. So I'm going to go here and wrap this up. Make sure to like, share, depending on what you're listening on, leave some feedback. Anything else to say, Miles?
Well, that's it.
All right. Thank you guys so much.